Me fine. All right, cool. All right, hello everyone. Welcome to the game pitch meeting. Thank you so much for coming, especially with such a last second change. So we have a lot to cover, so I'm gonna get started right now. All right, so just some quick announcements before we go right into the pitches. All right, so our second workshop is this Friday. We'll be having pizza again, and then we'll be teaching all of you how to use the basics of the Unity game engine. It's in the same building as the last workshop, Building 6, Room 3, and it will be from 3 to 5 again. We've adjusted the course material to make sure it's more in line with the time that we set for everyone. We'll also be having the club social at round 1, so if you haven't signed up yet, please do. The last day to sign up is on September 19th. And then we're going to start pushing our Halloween game jam. This is a competition and an opportunity for you to build a game within 48 hours following a specific prompt. The prompt will be revealed on the day that the jam starts, and it's a great way for you to sort of learn how the game development experience. There's going to be more details that will be sent out in the itch.io page, which will be sent out pretty soon. And then this is for those of you who are joining a game pitch, which I assume will be most of the people here. We also have a Git and GitHub tutorial video made by Enzo, and it covers a lot of that really well. For those of you who don't know what Git or GitHub is, it's basically a way for you to save your code with like backups in mind, and it also allows you to share your code with your teammates. The video goes in depth on how you're going to set that up and all of that process. All right, and then this is the most important thing. I'm streaming, right? Yeah. All right, most important thing. To join the team, after all of the pitches have been presented, you're going to go to the Get Your Roles channel. Here, you're going to react to one of these. There's going to be 10 here. I didn't have time to change the screenshot. There's one of these 10 games. And then afterwards, you're going to check at the bottom of the server. You should have access to your team channel. And then for team leads, and if you're not currently in the team lead chat, please come to me after you present your game, and then we'll get you in there.
Can I also add?
Yeah.
I'll also add that there might be a lot of games that sound really interesting to you. You should only join one team, though. Don't try to join two and like split your work between them. It usually doesn't really work out that you can do that well. 2 of us officers, including myself, have tried to do it, and it just never really worked out. So just find one team to commit to, okay?
Next slide. All right, and now we're going to start the game pitches. All right, I don't know if Sam's here. All right, so Sam's not here yet. All right, so we're going to be starting with Cluster Magic by David. Would like to come up? You could just stand close to the mic, and then you could click this for forward and then this for back.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, hi. So, my name's David.
You can hold it too. Yeah.
Oh.
And you don't have to lean so super close.
So this is the game title of my game, and a lot of inspiration comes from League, because I thought, what if like it was like League, but you know it was better. Thank you. So it's gonna be a MOBA, and so whenever you see like parentheses and like a question mark, it just means like I haven't decided yet, but it's like what I was thinking. And so like the general like main point of it is just like spell casting and like synergy between like the spells and combos and having like counter picking. And instead of like being like League, having like, even though there are mechanics, it's more about like decision making. I wanted more mechanics and just like high APM. And I was thinking it would just be, you know, like a PvP and maybe some like E. And these are like where my inspirations came from. So like that's from a game at the bottom left is from a game called Magica. It came out like a long time ago and it's basically dead now. But when I finished the tutorial, like I tried to queue up, but no one was playing. But during the tutorial, I had a lot of fun. So I kind of like got the idea of like high APM and mechanics from that. And the game Spellbreak, which has like those combos that you can do, and Pokemon with all these like different types and having counters to them. And the top right is like gameplay of Magica. I know it's like really old, but and the game concept and like how it would work came from the anime Black Clover. Is when doing their Royal Magic Knights exam, they had like these battles, and so that's basically the summary. And all those pictures are like kind of like just to help describe and like kind of put out of like what I imagine the game would be like. It'd be like an like ARAM style, just like really hectic and chaotic, and just like a 5v5. And Splatoon just being like, as you play the game, it will become like more progressively like crazier, and like you don't know like what's going on. And Bed Wars is kind of like a key concept where the objective is to protect and defend a crystal, and you have to like destroy the opponent's sides. For the like minimal viable product would kind of look like a game of Pong. I want to focus like on just like more focus on the spells rather than the players first, because I feel like that take a lot of work for all the interactions on like with your teammates and enemies, and having like those counters and interactions. And like my ideal would be like a 4v4 MOBA, or just something like Bed Wars where like there's like 4 different teams maybe, and kind of like a mashup of all those like pictures I showed you, having like the high APM spell casting with like a lot of synergy and combos you can do, you know, make those like crazy like highlight clips, and just basically keyboard mashing, and you're like having fun. So yeah.
All right, cool.
And that's basically what I'm looking for. The writing question mark is because I don't really think I have anything for that in the game. So.
All right. Are there any questions for David?
Yeah.
What is APM?
Actions per minute. It's just basically like how fast you could input stuff on your keyboard and mouse.
Do you have any idea what engine you'd want to use?
No, I'm like really new to programming and stuff,
Okay,
so
okay.
I just kind of thought of the idea.
All right. Any other questions? All right. Sounds good. So that's Cluster Magic. If you want to join Cluster Magic, you'll react to the Mage role. It should be the second one on the Carl bot. All right. Next up, we have Planetary Pursuits with Sam.
I like walked into the other room and I was like, I don't recognize anyone that's in this room except for one person because he was my friend. I was like, are you here for pre-med? I was like, no, I'm not. Okay, sorry. All right, so this is my fall 2022 game pitch by me. So again, if you haven't met me before, I'm Sam, webmaster. Let me hold this. All right, so back in fall 2021, if you guys were there for that year, you might remember that I pitched a game called Not So Generic Dating Simulator because I wanted to make basically a visual novel that had like some point and click elements because I wanted a more immersive visual novel experience. And unfortunately, at the end of the semester, I couldn't really put out something that I wanted to present to the club. So this year, I'm actually going to be repitching it. So the whole premise is, do you guys want to fall in love with planets? So yeah, so that's on my spiel. Last year, I tried to pitch something. But yeah, so the game, we actually have a title for the game now. It's called Planetary Pursuits. So it's a dating simulator / visual novel where you date personified planets. So that's sort of like the whole premise of the game. So sort of going more into like the story, because we did eventually develop it. You're basically an intern hired at Isaac or the International Space and Aeronautics Center or some other non-DMCA NASA alternative. So unbeknownst to you, you were hired to interact with personified planets who are interested in something called the Interplanetary Exchange Program. So again, we developed a lot of the story, but unfortunately we just didn't have basically the final product to show at the end of the semester. So your goal is to introduce the planets to normal human life and get closer to them and maybe even romance them. So, typical dating simulator stuff. So what's the gameplay like? So like a classic dating simulator or visual novel, you wanted to have, the typical branching dialogue that changed the conversation or led to new scenes. We also wanted to implement point and click elements to the game to make it more interesting and involved. Because one thing I hate about visual novels is it really is that it's just a visual novel. You just read the whole time. And I honestly think that's kind of boring, which is why I wanted to add like more point and click stuff. This would be implemented in the dating portion of the game, and your choices will increase or decrease a planet's affinity for you. So I'll get more into what that looked like, because I was able to implement the point and click aspect. It's really rough, but I was able to put it in there. So I'll just give you like a rough idea of what that looks like later on. So who can you date? So there were 3 dateable characters, and as you can see, we actually made the art for them. So that's Mars. He's a himbo. He's supportive. He can be scary when he's serious. And then there's Jupiter. They're regal, thoughtful, and they can come off as really cold and sassy. And then there's Pluto, who's really quiet. She's clumsy, and she can be shy, but she has a big heart. Obviously, like, you know, kind of like a reference to how Pluto has like a big heart shape on their planet. But yeah. So those are the people you can date. Those were the 3 that we decided on for the MVP. We wanted to add more as like deals. We always talked about like having DLC like dating planets, but those are the 3 we wanted to implement. So let me show you the progress we did have from last year. So these are the character concepts we designed. So I designed Mars. These are not final, but Janista was able to make the stills for Jupiter and for Pluto. That's sort of like the idea that we were going to go for. This was the logo that was designed by Janista. Janista's great. These are in-game screenshots, and then those temporary characters were made with Pick Crew because we didn't have the assets necessary, but basically just goes, that was like the dialogue that we had in the game. This is the dating element. So the whole idea was you were essentially going to go on a date. This was the park date, and you were basically had options to go to the playground, hiking, fishing, picnic, or biking. And then depending on what option you chose with whatever planet you decide to go with, they like some things more than others. Kind of similar to like Monster Prom or Monster Camp, if you guys ever played that game. So let's go more into like the specifics of the game development process. This is going to be programmed using Ren'Py, which is a very popular engine for creating dating simulators or visual novels. The most popular ones are Katawa Shoujo or DDLC or Doki Doki Literature Club. Those are both made using Ren'Py or the Ren'Py engine. Since it's a Python-based engine, this project would be very helpful for anyone who's just getting started in game development, since it won't be too code-intensive. So the MVP, the minimum viable product, my goal is to have the game's intro and the first date scenario completed by the end of the semester. These sections will be dialogue heavy as it's an introduction to the game's premise and mechanics. So we're basically gonna go into like the point and click aspect, the branching dialogue, and sort of all that stuff. I had like a bunch of like variables introduced. It's all in the code, I've coded it, but we just didn't have what I wanted for the end of the semester. So who am I looking for? So because this game is more on the artsy side, there's gonna be more emphasis on art, writing, and music versus programming. So artists who wanna do character art, backgrounds, writers who wanna work on story and dialogue, and then music, people who wanna work on the sound effects or the soundtrack. That's sort of like who we're looking for. If you're interested in doing programming as well, you're more than welcome, because Python is Python is like really simple coding language to learn, very similar to English, so it's not super hard to get into. So yeah, that's it. Thank you. Yes.
Signing up for this question because I'm going to put you on the spot. As you can tell, Sam did a lot of work. So I was going to say, you said that you couldn't come up with a minimal viable product. We couldn't. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. So that's Lewis. He was one of the writers for the team. So he wrote a whole script. He's one of the writers. He wrote the whole script for the intro. Yeah. But yeah, do you guys have any questions for me or anything? All right, that's it.
All right, cool. Thank you very much.
What?
Can we date Mercury?
When in the DLC, you have to pay $50 for it.
Nice.
Just for one encounter. It's to give players a unique experience that they feel like they earned.
You use microtransactions. And all of that goes to the club, right?
Yeah, definitely all goes to the club.
All right. Next up, we have Josh, one of the Joshes. All right, Circle of Growth. Feel free to click this to go forward, or just use the arrow keys.
All right, hi, my name is Josh, and this was my game idea. It was called the Circle of Growth. So for the basics, the whole premise is it's a 2.5D side scroller with a level design similar to the Mario games. So it's like a level 1, level 2, level 3, all kind of encapsulated into bigger worlds. And the whole goal is to like get from the left side of the screen to the right side and using your plant powers, which I'll talk about more a bit later. So the player or the character, you're literally just playing as like a baby Groot. Has basic side scroller movement, so you can move left, right. You could jump, there's double jumps, and then dashing. And then you can also grow and shrink the plants around you, but it comes at like a price. So basically the whole main mechanic is that you can change the layout of the level using your plant powers. So think like earthbending in Avatar or maybe Terraria, except like you're messing with the plants. So it's like trees and grass and stuff. But it follows the laws of conservation of mass, which means matter cannot be created or destroyed. So moving this into like how it's implemented into the game, basically you would grow plants or platforms to like help you traverse across the map. But as you do that, it'll shrink your character. And then to counter that, you can make your character larger, but it'll also suck the life out of the plants around you. So the whole goal of the game is to get to the end of the level without shrinking yourself so small. Because if you shrink, eventually you cease to exist and you just die. So you want to get to the end of the level without killing all the wildlife around you. And then it looks something like this, where as the character grows, the plant shrinks. And then as the plant grows, your character shrinks. My main inspirations with this game were the Unravel games, the Little Big Planet games, and then the Little Nightmares games. So the whole obstacles that you're going to be facing, there's the height of the player. So as the character shrinks and grows, there could be some times where maybe the character is too small to be able to jump and then reach over the top of a ledge. So the player will have to grow himself to get over the ledge. Or maybe sometimes there could be like an entrance or a hole too small for a big player to get into. So then the player will have to like waste some of his powers and shrink just so he can fit inside the entrance. And then there could be big ravines, like the whole way you get across them kind of depends on the resources you have available to you. So maybe if there's a tree on the opposite side of the ravine, you can like grow a branch out of it and make yourself a little bridge to get across. Or if there's mushrooms at like the bottom of the ravine, you can grow up the mushrooms, then hop across them, like in like the Mario games, Mario Kart. And then lastly, there could be like big ledges or something. So maybe like even at max height, you can't quite reach over the ledge. You can grow a plant from the ground and then it'll move you and possibly other interactables up in the world. So for the minimum viable product, I wanted to get just basic movement mechanics done. Some of the plant mechanics like growing and shrinking and then growing the plants to help yourself get across the map and all that. And then only like 1 or 2 levels. And then for the stretch goals, just more levels, possibly AI obstacles like Goombas or Koopa Troopas, you know, like in the Mario games. And then possibly some sort of boss level. And then I put world building, but that's really like on the back burner. I have no clue what I would put for any sort of story. And then finally for the crew, we're just looking for like Unity programmers, some sort of level designers, 3D modelers, and sound effects and music. And really just kind of anyone who wants to help because I feel like this is a bigger project and I'm gonna need a lot of help with it. So that's it.
Are there any questions for Josh 1?
What kind of music or sound effects would you be looking for a kind of game like this?
I don't know. I feel like when I imagine the sound effects, I imagine like semi-realistic because the way that I would envision the game is kind of like the Little Nightmares games to where it's a semi-realistic looking game, but it's obviously heavily stylized with like proportions of characters and all that. So just something similar to like semi-realistic sound effects, I guess. Yeah.
Any other questions? All right, good. Thank you very much. All right, next up we have Untitled Hardcore Platforming Roguelike. That's a mouthful. All right.
I know.
Oh,
A
also,
better title, hopefully.
all right. For anyone who's outside, you guys can come in. We have some space in the front if you want to sit there, or you can like stand along the wall here, or you can stay outside if you'd like. All right. Cool.
Hello, I'm Annabelle. I'm here to pitch Untitled Hardcore Platforming Roguelike. So, how do I...
Oh, I think
Is it
you just have to scroll
presentation?
down. I don't know why it's not presentation mode.
Is it a PDF?
Yeah,
I'm
it's a
so
PDF.
sorry about
No,
that.
it's all good.
All right, so elevator pitch. Basically, the player descends a bottomless pit to rescue the treasure at the bottom. Along the way, you fight powerful enemies with items you found along the way. As you can imagine, one of the main inspirations for this game is Spelunky. It's going to be a hardcore roguelike with players picking up items and throwing them, similar to Splunky. But in addition, I'm looking to take some inspiration from Hollow Knight, specifically the swordplay combat mechanics and pogo jumping, if you know what that is from that game. And I'm also looking to include some of the traversal mechanics from Celeste, alongside emulating that game's more refined character controller than Splunky. For our minimum viable product, we're looking to have a fully functional player controller. That's all the movement, all the items picking up and throwing. At least one zone. The game's going to be split up into multiple zones, similar to Splunky, and I'm hoping we could have at least one completed. At least 3 items. The ones I decided are most important are sword, the hook, and the dash orb. And at least 5 enemies / hazards. That's going to fill out the zone. For the engine, we're going to be using the Godot game engine. We're also going to be using a GitHub for project management, and I'm hoping to use Trello for managing the project as well. But if you don't know that, it's not hard to pick up. Really, we're looking for musicians, artists, programmers. The game's not really going to be story heavy, so if you're a writer, I'd suggest going with the Planet dating sim. It looks really fun. That's going to be all.
All right. Thank you very much. Are there any questions for Annabelle?
Yes.
What kind of art style are you looking for? Like pixel, 2D?
I know how to make pixel art, but if someone comes along who's a better artist than me and really wants to do it more, we could really do anything.
All right. Any other questions? All right. Sounds good. All right. Next up, we have the next Josh. Josh 2, Beat Shy. All right.
I'm impressively out of shape. It's been about 20 minutes and I'm still out of breath, so I apologize for the heavy breathing. Okay, beat shot. What's my game in 2 sentences? Move to the beat, don't shoot your feet. That's really stupid, I know. So what does that mean? So, a more thorough explanation, you are a ball. Your only form of locomotion is shooting out more little balls that move to the beat of the music. These balls will ricochet around your room and they will hurt you. And you need to avoid these balls by shooting out more little balls, which adds more danger. Now, I'll be honest, I'm not really great at explaining things with words, so I could just show you. So here's a demo I made. It's been about 1.5 years since I've made anything, just because I've been so burned out of game dev. But after our last meeting, I got so inspired, I just cranked out this demo. I sat down on my computer, spent a few hours cranking out this demo. So if you scan that QR code, it'll take you to the web version. And the web version is a little jank, I'll be honest, and it's even jankier on mobile. But so as you see, you're a little ball. If we start, your only form of moving is shooting little balls and try not to shoot yourself. It's pretty simple. So yeah, if you try yourself, I'll probably put those links in the Discord later. Okay, so my goal is probably the end of the semester, so I have main goals and side goals. So my main goals are enemies. I want to give the player something to shoot at, because as of right now, you just sit in the corner and shoot the same place over and over again, and you'll be fine. So something to motivate the player to move around. Some levels would be nice, some map geometry, because as you can see from the demo, it's just a box, which is very exciting. Maybe we could have some fun gimmicks, like levels that readjust to the beat of the music. I don't know. And of course, banging tunes would be great. It's a rhythm game. And then, of course, that side goals. These, if we don't get to these aren't very important. So, an actual goal that isn't just survive as long as possible. Maybe you need to defeat all the enemies in the room to move on to the next level, or maybe you need to collect a bunch of things. I don't know. And of course, different power-ups or weapons for the player to use. Maybe different weapons that fire to different beats. We'll see. Who am I looking for? Programmers, obviously. Testers, because I'll be honest. I'm not a very good judge at what's fun, so I need somebody who's brave enough to tell me, hey, this is crap, here's what you do to make it better. People proficient in Git and GitHub, because I'm not very experienced with that, and I need somebody to guide me through. Musicians, this is an important one. It's a rhythm game after all. I did make that funny little tune that you heard playing there, but I'll be honest, it took me longer to make that than the entire rest of the demo. I'm slow when it comes to music. And people who want to learn, this is a project open for anybody, even if you have no experience. I love teaching people, or at least I think I do. Maybe that'll change later on. So all the more reason to take this offer while it's still open. Yeah, you'll notice, I don't have artists up there just because, I mean, it'd be super cool if some artists could come and make my game look banging, but I don't want to draw any artists away from the other game pitches that are maybe a little art-oriented. Oh yeah, I should mention it's made in the Unity game engine. And yeah, I think that's it. Any questions? Yes?
Okay, so what if we're working for a different project? Can we still make music for your game?
If you think you can manage it, then yeah, go for it.
Personally, I've tried working on 2 projects in the past. It's kind of difficult, but if you want to, feel free to, but I don't recommend it personally.
Yeah, me too. That's why I suggested you only work on one, but you can try.
You can try.
Yeah.
But
You just usually can't balance them well.
yeah.
Hello, little head from the table. My recommendation is if you are pretty good at like multiple disciplines of game development, like art, music, programming, if you want to devote one part of it to one game and then one part of it to another game, that's doable. But again, as long as it's manageable, again, this is just a club for fun. So don't feel too pressured into like having to do all of this work. If you guys want to do like work for other teams, that's like you're more than welcome to, but don't feel too pressured to like get anything.
Yep.
So is the goal of the game to like survive as long as
That's what it is right now. You saw in the demo, it just keeps track of how many beats you survive. Yeah.
Is there any like negative to not shooting to the beat right as of right now?
As of right now, you're forced to. I
Okay.
plan to make it, maybe you have some more control over that because as of, yeah.
Have you considered a gun that shoots coins?
Elaborate.
So you shoot like 3 or 4 coins, right? And then after that, you shoot like a regular bullet at the coins, and it directly targets other enemies.
This guy's more creative than I am. I should put that in my recommended. People who are creative, please show it. Yeah.
Or maybe it's like a power-up that you get.
Yeah.
One question back there.
So I'm guessing the music you're looking for this kind of thing is like something like really simple, right? Something
Yeah, so banging.
All right.
Something that slaps. Really anything that slaps will work, so.
All right. Any other questions? All right, cool. Thank you very much. Oh, wait, did you have a question? Or, wait, sorry, did you have a question? Or?
I'm just new here, so I don't actually know what's going on.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, let's just give a rundown. So, essentially, what we're doing is we're pitching game projects that we'll be doing for the semester. You don't need any experience to join. The idea is sort of that the team and then the club as a whole tries to help you work on a certain part of the game as you go on. Yeah, that's essentially what we do. Yeah, and then you're on the team lead project?
I don't think so.
Okay, come talk to me during the next presentation. All right, next up is a video by Don Dow.
Hello, I am Don, and this is my game pitch for Power Swap.
I realize you can't hear
Before
this.
I get into it, I just want to know I'm not in slideshow mode only because it's glitching out on my computer. So for some inspirations, Super Smash Bros. Is one of them. It's incredibly chaotic. I love the fun that you get playing it. But I want to note that what's special about this game that I might take from it would be the similar foundational movesets, basic attacks and grabs. Every character has one of those, even though they are different, like moves inside the game. Then there's Bomb Squad by Eric Fromley, which is an online battle game. There's mini games and a lot of mini maps. All characters have the same abilities, which is important. They're completely equal, so their moves are not different at all. It's physics-based. There's a lot of power-ups, and friendly fire is on, which is important to note because it makes the game incredibly fun and chaotic. I'm going to size this video up so you guys can see it better because we're not in slideshow mode. Okay, so that was 10 seconds. Oh, not again. But there you can see that they're spinning around or jumping to make the bomb go a longer distance. And so the physics aspect of the game makes it so you have to hone your skills with how to aim the bomb correctly and move around. Yeah. Oopsies. So another inspiration would be Pokemon Unite, which is a MOBA or a mobile online battle arena, There's a lot of different roles in this one. So like other MOBAs, you'll have an attacker, a defender, a supporter. Those are the type of roles that I'm talking about. Each character is completely different. They all have very diverse moves. But this game, the important thing about it is that it's much more team fight and strategy based, as opposed to the other games before it, which were mainly just chaotic and like free-for-alls. And so that's what I wanted to know about Pokemon Unite. There is also a scoring system where the entire total score for both teams is revealed at the end, which we might add into the game. It's not super critical, it's just something I think is neat. So for the combined game, it will be a 4v4 or 5v5 game, essentially a party game. After a set time, you will swap powers with another player on your team, which effectively swaps your team roles. This gives everyone a chance to play a role and encourages versatility and adaptability. It also adds to the chaos and will probably happen 2 to 5 times during a match. I'm not exactly sure how many times we'll experiment with that. And it will be at predicted and forecasted intervals because the swapping is already a random element. We don't want to overdo it by making it just happen at random times. And friendly fire will be on. This is to encourage cooperation, to also add to the chaos. A kicking system will be put in place to make sure you're not getting abused. It will be physics-based. Each character will have a close and long-range attack, which is most likely bombs. This is to keep the game simple, and also, I just like bombs. We can change it later, of course. Game modes may focus on scoring points to win, or some other objective like flag football. So here's the MVP versus fully finished. For the minimum viable product, there will be a swapping mechanic, which should include at least 2 different roles. There will be a hit point system made of percentages and a respawn timer. There will be a local multiplayer, and it will be physics-based. For the fully finished product, it will have more maps. There will be more game modes, like a free-for-all. We will develop an online multiplayer, and make sure that each character has a close and long-range attack. There will be more power-ups, and there will definitely be a proper kicking and reporting system. So who is needed? I'm new to making a game pitch, but if I had to guess, a couple programmers and artists. Summary: Power Swap is a silly, physics-based online battle arena where you and your team compete against another team in a series of mini-games. After a set amount of time, power-ups/roles are swapped randomly between other members on your team, and you all must coordinate to score the most points, depending on the game mode, to win the game and avoid death by your foes or friendly fire. Let the chaos begin. Thank you, and my Discord handle is below if you would like to message me. See you.
All right. If you have any questions for Don, you could ping him on the, oh, let me unmute. Yeah, all right, if you have any, I just saw that, okay. If you have any questions for Don, you could ask him in the Discord server, just ping him either in general or questions or concerns, kind of just anywhere to be honest.
Can you play the honest trailers that we're loving? Okay.
Can we? I don't know. All right, next up, Fiddle Contest. Now, Josh 3.
Oh yeah.
How do I change the slide?
Oh, okay.
How do I change the slide?
Just click on here or use
Okay.
the arrows. Yeah.
All right. So my 2-second pitch for what Fiddle Contest is that it's not changing. Oh, there we go. It is a psychological horror game about making music. So I'm going to go into the music making aspect first. The player will have access to a small studio with 3 principal music making devices. The first is the radio. It plays music that comes with the game. For reasons that will become apparent later, I think it would also be cool to have some radio hosts. The thing that makes it a music making device is that you can record what's going on in it. So if you hear a sound you like, you can press a button, get a little strip of paper that has the sound on it, and you can bring it to the second device, the slicer, which lets you get individual pieces of music. So if you have some drum track that goes p, p, t, p, p, then you can use this to get the individual p sound and the individual t sound. And the reason you want that is that you can use it in the third music making device, which is the sampler. This is a very classic music making device used in a lot of electronic and hip hop music. The way it works is that each button corresponds to a sound, so you can make one button the p button and another button the ch button, and rearrange it into whatever drum beat you want. this is basically the way you make music. You rearrange things into whatever you want, combine pieces that you make together into larger and larger pieces until you make your music that you want. So this is the music making aspect. What's the psychological horror aspect? So the player is going to be given some time to get familiar with these mechanics, get comfortable with using them, make a few songs with them. Eventually, they'll find that a new device has kind of spontaneously appeared on their desk. They don't quite know what it is, where it came from. From some experimentation, they'll find that when they put sounds into it, it changes it slightly. It adds some effect in some way. It also comes with a note saying that you really shouldn't use it over and over again on the same sound because it just sounds bad. And the player might heed that advice for a while. They might just experiment with it, make some music with it, but eventually the curiosity is going to get to them. What does actually happen when you feed sound through this device multiple times? And they find that it starts developing some strange noises. Some things appear that definitely weren't there before. And these, if you keep doing it, the sounds develop into distinct voices, giving you cryptic instructions. If the player chooses to follow these instructions, they'll find their reality and their sanity start unraveling in various different ways. This is a place where the game can be extended in a variety of different ways, but some ideas I have are as follows. As the player follows the instructions, the music on the radio should become more distorted and more dissonant. This is something we can use with some audio processing effects. Also, we can have the hosts that I mentioned earlier occasionally break the fourth wall. Say they're just talking about some strange weather event, and then all of a sudden they turn to address the player and demand that they follow the instructions they've been given. Maybe if the player tries to record this, they find that it's actually just a benign conversation about the weather, calling into question their own sanity. So this is ultimately the game. A player is in possession of some music-making tools, but they, in the combination of this strange device that they find, combined with their own morbid curiosity, they end up summoning some destructive force into the world, end up unraveling the world around them. So who do we need to make this game a reality? The people we absolutely need that are absolutely essential are some 3D artists to make the studio and the equipment contained within. We also need some programmers. A variety of skill levels are welcome because we need everything from simple mechanics like moving the mouse to move the camera to more complicated audio processing stuff. And don't worry if you don't know audio processing, that's something I'm happy to teach anyone who's interested about. So if you're interested in like procedural soundtracks or like sound effects in video games, this is something I can show you some of the ropes on. Finally, we need at least one voice actor to give the creepy instructions that the player will discover. Some people that would be nice to have that would make the game shine in an extra way are musicians to make some original music for the game. If we don't have musicians, we can default to stock music, but I think that'll diminish the impactfulness of the game. It would also be nice to have some people with sound design chops to make the distorted versions of the music on the radio, to make the voice acting for the creepy instructions sound unearthly and unnerving. Finally, it'd be great to have some radio show hosts. This is something where we could have we could come up with a bunch of lines over the course of development and just send them to someone and have them record all the lines in a half-hour session. So it really doesn't take much commitment. And so that's what the game is. That's who we need. Are there any questions or comments?
Who's the final boss? The music battle with the devil?
That'd be a cool concept to have. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is there a specific voice you're looking for the radio host?
Just anyone who sounds like a radio show host. Yeah, if you can do like a big, like ostentatious voice, that'd be great.
Any other questions? All right, cool.
All right.
Thank you very much. That's all of the.
I have another question. Why is it called Fiddle Contest?
That's the only thing I could think of that was like related to demonic things and musicians.
Nice. All right, next up, tower defense game. I'm not going to pronounce it because I suck at pronouncing stuff.
I like this guy. Hi there, I am Charlotte. My game is Artificer Defense, or Artificer Defense if you want to correct me about it. A complex-ish tower defense based on spell creation. So first and foremost, what is an artificer? By definition, they're an artisan or craftsman. But in the game D&D, which this is like very loosely based off of, an artificer is kind of like a spellcaster, but they get their magic from magical items they make.
Yeah, just click it. Or left click, sorry.
Why I'm pitching this game. Oh shoot. Oh shoot.
Can we go back one?
How do you play the video?
Oh, is this a video?
Yeah, that's a video.
an image.
Wait, it's an image?
You could describe what happens in it. It's okay.
Okay, so like, there's this wizard dude. There's a dummy. He does like firebolts, and then he steps on a magic circle. It randomizes, and it like, whoa! It's like his cool element shifting sword, and then it goes. And then, he goes back to the circle, and he's like, he just summons a fiery black hole, and it's like really cool. It goes. But yeah, I made this back in 2020 during COVID. It was actually from my game design class, but I had to cut it short. Originally, it was gonna follow the premise of making magical spells, but I had to like change it to randomizing spells instead. The premise. So you're this guy who makes spells or staves. Technically, you can make a gun, according to the first slide. And it's like pretty extensive. So, like, let's say you have a bolt type spell and you want to make it explosive. You will have to meet the prerequisite of the spell initially doing 30 damage. Because it's like an explosion is pretty big in terms of damage. So you would want it to have a lot of damage in the first place to make it possible. And they can't really use their spells or staves because they're really powerful, but the guy himself is like pretty weak. Instead, they make turrets, magical turrets. They track an enemy and then obliterate. So, but generally speaking, each tower would have like their own mana pool just to make it balance. So like, if you had something like 3 poison shots, it's pretty weak. It's not gonna use up that much mana. But like 5 seconds of like flare beam, that would eat up a lot of mana. So what it will be similar to? It'll be very similar to Rogue Tower, a roguelike tower defense. In the sense it's like there are magical towers and there's like a mana pool and a very extensive upgrade tree. And it will kind of be similar to the Minecraft enchantment table. There's a prerequisite of needing 30 levels to get 3rd level enchantments and whatnot. And like, there would be a max cap for the enchantments. So there would be a max cap of what you can do with spells. Technically, end of the pitch, but I realized that I should probably discuss the MVP and what I probably need for this project. So MVP is just basic enemy AI, like they follow the path, basic tower functionality, and a rudimentary spell crafting system. And as for members, I would say I'm in desperate need of programmers and artists. Musicians, maybe less so, but always appreciated. And that's the end of the pitch. Please consider joining. Any questions?
I love you, Charlotte!
Well, hi, Lewis.
All right.
Oh, there's a question here.
A question right there.
Oh, hey.
So is there like a context to make these towers, or are you trying to build?
It's more like you're building the spell. So like, let's say you want to make a laser spell, so you just go through the process of making a laser spell, and then you just put it on a tower.
Will it be easier? Like easy just make towers?
Max 15 minutes still.
Possibly, it's like you have to spell and you drag and drop. As for programming the tower, I do not know. Probably not.
All right, another question over there.
Have you tried the game Noida?
Noida. I've seen videos on it. Also very similar to Noida.
I knew you would ask that question. So.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. Next one. This is, I believe this is Love Quest. All right.
Okay, like I made this in 5 minutes, you could probably tell.
So, have you ever felt like really lonely? And when you feel really lonely, your first instinct is to like hop on Genshin. Yeah, and then, but quickly, you realize that none of the characters will ever fill that hole in your heart. The playable characters, all they do is like say random things in battle, like what? And then all the side characters are like trying to manipulate you into taking their side quests. Like this character, when you meet her or something, when you start talking to her, she starts like going off about all of her problems, and then she suddenly goes like, "Oh my God, it was prophesized that the person that will help me has blonde hair, and the game conveniently forces you to have blonde hair." So like, okay. Also like, you realize that like, this is like the interactive map for the Genshin universe or something. Most of these dots, these markers are side quests. So it's like 70% of all NPCs are for giving out side quests. And like, I don't know what kind of culture you have to have in a world where like 70% of people are manipulative and narcissistic and lazy and want you to take and want to dump all their problems onto you. It like honestly kind of reminds me of my ex, but so anyways, I want to lean really hard into the toxic part. Of the NPCs, and also make it so that you can date them. So Love Quest is going to be like an RPG style dating sim. All of your love interests are really toxic. 2D because I don't like 3D. Not because I'm a degenerate, but because because 2D is easier to make, and it has like less of that. It's more cozy because in 3D you're like looking out at the world and like you see something and you want to explore it, but in 2D it's like you have this box where you're focused in. I don't know. But yeah, that's kind of the idea. I'm gonna go on to the inspirations first. So inspirations, it's gonna be like Doki Doki Literature Club, which is just a dating sim. Nothing weird with it at all. It's going to have inspirations from like Stardew, kind of where like it's kind of like open world and you can do whatever, but yeah, I don't know. And Undertale, because Undertale is funny and cool. But how do you go back? Okay. The MVP, I realize that some of these things don't actually belong on here and are more of stretch goals. But so in the MVP, we need a dialogue UI, which is probably just like a text box and then a character sprites or whatever, and also RPG elements, which are like a map for the areas that you're gonna go to. Quests, because your toxic love interests are going to want you to do a lot of things for them. And maybe battles or bosses, I don't know. And hopefully we can get like one route for romancing a character in. Is that the last slide? I think that is. Oh, game engines. I don't know much about engines. Maybe Ren'Py, but I don't know if Ren'Py can make like an RPG style. Also, I didn't include a slide on this, but for people that I would need, we would need like writers. I think this game, since it's like trying to subvert, kind of subvert two genres at once, dating sims and RPGs, has a lot of opportunity for comedy, but also it can be depressing because, you know, everyone's really toxic, but yeah. So preferably the writers, well, yeah, the writing would need to like balance those two somehow. Artists would be nice because you need sprites of the characters. You need programmers for literally everything else, I guess. And maybe a musician for like background music. Yeah, that's basically it.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll take like one question for him because we still have one more pitch. Any questions? All right. All right, last pitch. I can't pronounce the name. It's Takusatu. It's a hack and slash game. Yeah. Oh, do you want? Wait.
Is that anyone's pitch here?
Is that anyone's pitch?
Anyone online?
Anyone online? Let me check the chat. All right. All right. All right. That's it for that then. So if you want to join a team, any of these pitches speak out to you. We have a Get Your Roles channel. You can find it here. All of the teams are here. You just have to click one of these things. Okay, so these two are this one, which is Power Swap. Try clicking both of them. I don't know which one's going to give it to you. You should see a role all the way you should see two chats all the way in the bottom for you. And then if you're a team lead, please message me on Discord if you're not yet in the team lead chat. All right, yeah, that's it. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry? You can message me on Discord. Yeah. All right, thank you very much.